Boys, it is my pleasure to introduce to you one of the coolest 90s era build. This car was built in the 90s, all period correct parts, and hasn't changed to this day. Let's get into it. So real quick, guys, let me give you a backstory on this car. It was owned, purchased, and built by an individual here locally that sold it not too long ago. And you're looking at it, you're like, man, that's a 7-Up Saline. Well, not quite. This car is in fact a clone, but it was built in the 90s and back when you could purchase all the parts originally from Saline. Let me show you what I mean. So to start off, you've got all the original Saline ground effects and the Speedline wheels, the bare brakes, the entire graphics kit, and of course you got to have the whale tail. Who doesn't love the whale tail? Once again, got all your graphics, all correct, all bought from Saline, brand new back in the day when you could buy these parts. So a kind of ironic story is the individual that owned this originally and built it also had another 7-Up Saline, but that one was real. This car is a clone, and he modded the hell out of it. Now, of course, we got to step right up under the hood. Now, fun fact, there's an article on motortrend.com, which I'll put up here on the screen, that details everything about this car. And the article was written in 2006. But the short story is, when the owner got it, it had extremely low miles, which today it only has 37,000 original miles on it. But he started modding it, ended up blowing up the original engine. So real quick, let's go over the mods. So the bottom end is a forged DSS 306. And then of course you got trick flow twisted wedge heads. You got the Anderson blower cam, and then you've got the GT40 intake, and the lower intake is ported to the heads, which opens up quite a bit of flow. And then of course you've got the Vortec. I believe it's an S trim. As you can see, the data plate's a little faded out and worn. And then of course you got to have the Max Flow power cooler as well. Not too much going on. 1 3/4 Bassani shorty headers. It's not crazy. It's not, you know, over the top or anything. But on the dyno, I believe it made 518 495. And that was in the late dyno, in the late 90s on the Anderson Ford Motorsport dyno, which is, of course, is who built this car. Now, real quick, if you're not familiar with Anderson Ford Motorsports, they are essentially the pioneers of late model EFI 5-liter Mustang movement. Rick Anderson back in the day built the clean power car, which was his red notch. And if you don't know, back in the day when EFI started coming into its own and carburetors were going away from the factory, people didn't really like EFI. You know, they were scared of it. So essentially what Rick Anderson did way back in, this was in the late 80s, this wasn't even in the 90s, is show people that you can make clean power with EFI, you know, fuel injected small block Fords, and he did it. And there's some extremely cool articles. All my OG guys will know what I'm talking about. But Anderson Ford Motorsport was essentially one of the pioneers, and they built this car. And here it is running 27 years later. a 7-Up car, of course, you have the deep emerald jewel green paint, and then you're going to have the two-tone white and gray interior. And you can tell just by looking at the seats, this car is super low miles. Yes, that is Steve Saline's signature there on the dash. Original cluster. Then you've got your little bevy of water temp, oil pressure, and boost gauge. And then up there on the cowl, you got your fuel pressure. But mostly stock in here. Does have a nice little roll cage. Very nicely done. Got the covers with the zippers and everything. But I mean, even the leather is just super soft. And then one of the coolest things is this car is still running on the Anderson PMS, which is an extremely old school engine management system that Anderson developed and built. And for the time, it was cutting edge and worked really well. You know, 30 years later, it's a little primitive, but it's so cool to see this thing still in the car, still functioning. Pretty wild. Now, up under the skirt, the mods are somewhat limited, but it does have the racecraft suspension, does have the bare brakes, Takico Alumina, shocks and struts on the car, saline springs, and it has some Kenny Brown subframe connectors, full stainless steel Bassani exhaust, complete fuel system. And of course, we just installed a Tremec TKX transmission from Hanlon Motorsports. The car did have a 3550 in it, and it was completely done. So we went ahead and swapped that out, new clutch and all that from Hanlon, and she's good to go on the road again. I think the coolest thing about this is this car represents the very best of what was available back in the mid to late 90s, and it's still on there, still rocking to this day. Like I said, it made 518 495 on the dyno, which back in the day, that was insane. That was insane power to have 500 horsepower to the tire. And yeah, the car actually does run extremely well. Unfortunately, we can't get it out and do anything crazy because we're on the break-in period on the clutch and the trans. But the car does run exceptionally well. Getting back here just to some honorable mentions here. These Saline Speedline wheels are extremely sought after. They're extremely valuable. This one has no curb rash. It does have some checking in the clear. You know, original finish wheels from 30 years ago. But those things are extremely highly sought after. And of course, the mint original Saline ground effects, those are highly sought after. I'm no Saline guru or anything of the sort, but I know these parts are extremely valuable and extremely hard to find in great condition, and everybody's looking for them. But just a super cool, period correct, runs great, it's got the power, got the look, got the sound, with a whole lot of epic history. Alright boys, so there you go. Super cool, period correct, all 90s build. They're still out there, and it's super cool seeing them like that. We've got all kinds of badass new parts available, and the COYOTE swaps and all that cool stuff. But seeing where the cars came from and what started it all, stuff like this, I dig it. So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one too. If you did, big thumbs up. Make sure you smash that subscribe button. Catch you on the next one.